Hey, what's going on, y'all? It's the No Shot Clock podcast, man. We are super excited to announce our special guest, the big homie from the town, ex-football player, man, has amassed over 2 million followers on all his socials, has an ebook out called The Undrafted Chef Volume 2. It's our pleasure to introduce to y'all Boyd Brown. What's happening, baby?
Yeah, man, we got Boyd in the house.
Been a pleasure, man. Thank you for having me, man. I'm glad you guys are getting this off the ground. Pleasure to have me on, man. And let's get cracking.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, man. So I just want to start off, by a little bit about yourself, your sports background, growing up in Seattle, your family football legacy.
Yeah, that's always a topic of interest among people, even back then and up until now. So, I was born in Denver. My dad played for the Denver Broncos for 3.5 seasons, then got traded to the Giants the year the Broncos went to the Super Bowl. And, he kind of ended his career with the Giants, well, with Seattle, actually, because after the Giants, Seattle had called him, didn't make the team. And I grew up in Bellevue on the east side. Growing up on the east side, coming up, even at an early age, I discovered that there was a lot of athletes in the East. I'm not talking about just in Seattle, but just even on the East side. And so, I got involved with sports very early. My dad he played a big part in, trying to get me revved up to be tough. My dad, my entire family's from Mississippi, so they grew up tough. My dad's got, he had a bunch of brothers, a bunch of sisters, and country boys, they don't back down from nothing. And my dad was not a small guy. I think at birth, I think he was like 13 pounds or something. Like all his brothers and sisters were big. All my aunts and uncles, they're big country people, man. And so, he got me ready to be tough. As I got older into high school, my dad told me that the weight room was one of the biggest keys to getting an athletic scholarship. If you can't do anything, just stay in the weight room and hustle. I was a pretty gifted athlete in high school. I thought it was overlooked a lot. I didn't get better until I played basketball in college for 2 years at Bellevue. And we had a great team. And I didn't start to bloom until I got there. I was decent in high school. Was always been a shooter, learned to shoot at a very early age. I was one of the best things. That was one of the I think the best tools that I could have learned because I was around so many different shooters, in the Seattle area. Everyone was a shooter. Everyone was a guard. Everyone wanted to shoot. So I learned to shoot at a very early age. And as I got older, I started to get bigger. My vertical started to get higher, started to get tougher. And then after I left Bellevue, I went to Vegas. I moved to Vegas for about 2 years, tried out for the XFL out there. I left basketball on the table. Well, actually, let me back up, because I did have 2 tryouts for an ABL team in Vegas 2 years in a row. I got cut both years, which I should have never gotten cut. To this day, I don't know the real reason why I was cut. That was my ticket into, to saying I played professional basketball, but I got cut 2 years in a row. Don't know why still. Then I said, let me put on these pads. So I left Vegas, moved back home to Seattle, and excuse me, I started playing semi-pro ball for a team called the Renton Ravens, just to get me amped up. And so I played a year in that semi-pro stuff, and then I moved to Atlanta, Georgia in 2003. And at this time, I'm in my prime. Like I'm 24, 25 at the time, and prime shape, prime everything, man. And so I jumped on another one of these semi-pro teams called the Georgia Extreme. Now, let me tell you something about the Georgia Extreme. It was a semi-pro team, but a lot of arena teams came and picked up different players off our team because we were that good. And we were one of the best teams in the country. And we weren't no regular like semi-pro team. So I hopped on this team. There was nothing but D1 guys and guys that played in the NFL, guys that played in Canada. I mean, there were some younger guys too, but we had a plethora of these extreme athletes, and we just all came together, man. And from there, arena teams started picking up players. I think an arena team picked up 9 of us at one time. Our quarterback, a couple receivers, a couple running backs. And so from them, it's kind of like a circuit. And so you play for one arena team, other teams are there. You can it's basically you get traded. You can go here, go. It's kind of like the NFL, but it's kind of like almost underground football, man. It's real grimy. The game is a little different, and the paychecks are a whole lot smaller. So
I bet.
I was playing it for the love of the game, and also to try to get a workout with the professional team in NFL, which it didn't happen. I thought I was always good enough to be an NFL tight end to run out those tunnels on the roster on Sunday. My dad did some work. I just everyone can't go. My dad played in the NFL. My cousin Adrian Hubbard played at Alabama, played in the NFL. He lives out here in Atlanta. Stephen Ridley, that played at LSU, played 10 years as a running back in the NFL, and a couple other guys from my dad's town, Crosby, Mississippi, which I think the population in Crosby is about maybe 500. And so, there's a few guys that come out of Crosby to play in the NFL. My dad was one of them. And plays for the Seahawks, and Marquise just got signed by the Ravens. So athletics in our family runs really deep. I've got two boys now, and they're extremely talented, athletically gifted, and so it's in the bloodline. So I've did what I can do. I put my stamp down. I played for a lot of years, and no one expected that out of me. I was always told, my entire life what I can't do. Boy, you can't do this. You're never going to be this. And I have checked the box on every single one of these things that everyone told me that I could not do. So I'm just grateful, to have the experiences that I've had, made some, lifelong friends along that path. And I'm just grateful, man.
That's dope, man. I was a couple classes under you, man. So you were definitely, somebody that I was always watching. And there's two things that I definitely must say. One, no Diddy. Boyd had stroke for sure, so I can definitely attest to that. Two, man, Boyd was always fighting. So that's the thing when you talked about your dad, and it makes sense now. Every time I would look over open gym, man, them things was up.
Man,
he was ready. Boyd was
no fighter, man.
Boyd was ready.
We grew up in a different era, though, man.
Man.
Some of these kids now ain't throwing no punches, which is fine. But at the same time, like you grew up in the mid '90s and the late '90s, early 2000s, man. You had to fight to earn it, like sometimes. And that's how you get tougher. I'm not saying it's okay to fight, but man, you know how it goes.
Yeah, we was just talking about that, man. I'm gonna switch gears on you a little bit, man. What originally inspired you to start creating content as a chef? And what was your first video that really took off?
So I've always been able to cook. I've been trained professionally for some years, and I've been a mentor to some people for some years. So to learn these different techniques and styles. So when I moved let me back up for a second. A guy with the initial CP, Pellegrini, I can say his name. I think he won't get mad. I remember about 7 years ago, because all I was doing on social media was posting like pictures on social media, pictures of my food. Everyone loved it. But Craig was like, one day was like, boy, posting pictures is cool and everything, but what's the next step? And he said that in a post. And I basically told him, like, hold my beer. And as time went by, I still didn't know anything about TikTok. I don't think TikTok was out. I don't think TikTok was out then, but Instagram was and Facebook was, of course. So I posted pictures, and I didn't know anything about editing. So I started to do some raw footage of video. And then I think COVID started to take over. So everyone was working from home. And TikTok came, and, I started to watch these creators and these chefs put all their imaginations and their recipes to life on film. And I'm like, this is cool, and I didn't think anything of it at the time, but then I kept watching and watching and watching. I was home more and more and more cooking. And I just told myself, why don't I just start try to film on a regular basis, try to practice. I broke up with my phone. I didn't have a ring. I didn't have the lights. I didn't have anything. All I had was like an old iPhone. And this was back in like 2021, 2020, iPhone like 13 or something, iPhone 10. I don't know what I had, but I just started to film content of me cooking. And if you go back and look at my older videos, my videos are trash. But one thing that I was driven. And once I started, I didn't want to stop because I saw others doing it. And I told myself, all my life, I was told that I couldn't do something, and I created a chip on my shoulder. And this is what I've done pretty much all my life. If there was no chip on my shoulder, I created a chip. And I think that's one thing that drove me to be where I am right now. I just have always just, and it's that mama mentality, man. Like everyone doesn't have it. And so I wanted to get better. I wanted to be better than the people that I saw, but I knew that it was, it wasn't my time and I was going to get better. So I kept getting better and better, learning how to edit, upgraded my phone, COVID was here, so I had more time on my hands to start filming and learning and getting better at creating content. And after I started creating a not a consistent amount of videos, but there was one video that I created that actually did pretty good, and I think it was the Bombay. It was a Bombay shrimp video. I went to New Orleans and I had this Bombay shrimp dish at this fusion Indian restaurant, and I went home and created it, and it got like I think 15 million views collectively. And that's when I was like, okay, I got something here. Let me start getting a ring light. Let me start upgrading my phone, to do better content. Because once I saw that first video go viral, it's almost like it's like an addiction. As being an athlete, like I want that. I want to chase it. So I started doing other videos. People started contacting me. Other chefs and creators started recreating my dishes, and then when that happens, they start circulating everywhere online. And after that, man, it was the glow up is a blow up, man.
That's dope.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So I went back on your page, and you're right, man. I jotted down that shrimp one. It was the one, bro. And also to go back, I saw one of your ones that started off with 10K 2021, and then you had a couple 20Ks, and that 7 million one plus 15 or whatever.
Yeah, I had like a 7 million one. It was the bacon. It was
The beef bacon. I remember.
beef bacon, but it was it was the candy beef bacon. That's what it was.
Yeah. So like, how many views do you think you had overall? Like, is it like in the 200 million, 100 million, or
And we
more
call
than
those impressions, right? Impressions in the business world.
Man, that's probably over 500 million, dude. At least.
Golly.
I mean, if I had to guess right now, because I've had some monster videos, 24 million, 30 million alone, I would have to say it may be close to a B.
Hey, there you go. That's my next question. So, when did you realize this was not just a hobby and it could be something that you could grow as a brand or business,
Great question. So back up a little bit. That ebook, The Undrafted Chef and The Undrafted Chef Volume 2, it took me, I think it was maybe 2012, way back. I wanted to create a book back then, but I couldn't come up with a name. And it took me almost a decade to come up with a name for a book. And once I was literally online one day watching a video, and this one, it was an ex-athlete. I don't know if he was a baseball player or a football player, but he said that he went undrafted and he was a chef, but there was no relationship to the name. He just said that he was undrafted and now I'm a chef. And immediately I said, The Undrafted Chef. Took it, I branded it, went online, got all my licenses for the name. And I said, this is going to be the name of my book, of my first ebook. And once I started to put that together, which was a grueling process, putting that together myself, I had no help with I don't think ChatGPT was at where it's at now. If it was, I knew nothing about it like 3.5 years ago. I did it all raw. And it was up to 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. And so once I put that together and got it out, and remind you guys, all this time on social media that I was doing videos for like 2 years, I never asked anybody for anything whatsoever. It was just all raw content. And people over the years started asking me, when am I going to get a book? When are you going to get a book? I'll do an ebook. Not asking anyone for anything once. And then I think I had about maybe 150, 200,000 followers. Once I put that first ebook out there, it flew. And I said, wait a minute, I can make this much money just off an ebook. I need to start doing content for real. And then because it could branch out to my seasonings, to brand deals, to whatever. And it has. And so that's when I knew, once that ebook started flying off, everyone started buying it. I knew right then that I could possibly do this full time, but I did not. I wasn't at the bridge yet where I wanted to cross, but I knew that I had something, and this was going to possibly be a lifelong hobby.
Piggyback off that, do you think building a personal brand and an audience, do you think you should put a product out at the beginning or as you're building or at the end? What do you think?
Building, I mean, there's so many, there's levels to everything. And so if you have something, that's great, put it out. But building your audience, and I'm going with what happened to me in my perspective of this whole social media thing, building an audience first is I think is key. in my position, because I never asked anyone for anything. It was just straight content. Then all of a sudden, but your content has to be good. And so all of a sudden, people started buying the ebook. I mean, it was like literally, I was making probably a few grand a week, just off a ebook. And I was like, okay, wait a minute, I've got something. I mean, in my perspective, you got to just, man, putting products out at the beginning of your journey, unless you're already a brand, may be a mistake. I would say you would have to build your presence online first, establish a presence, build a community before you put out a product.
That's what's up. So let me ask you this, as a creator, well, let's take it a step further. As creators, as artists, as musicians, everybody has their way of doing things, right? I'm gonna give you 2 quotes and you tell me what you live by, how you come up with these reels. So the first quote is obviously separation is in the preparation, right? And then the other one would be magic happens when everything is spontaneous. When you come up with these ideas for these reels, what do you live by? And what do you feel you've had the most success, organically or really planning it out?
No, magic happens when you're spontaneous, bro. And that's happened probably 75% of the time. I have a running list of about 500 different recipes. It's like a chalkboard that I have over the years. And every time I see something, I'll put it down and I'll, because I want to make either my own version of it or a spin-off of it. Or a lot of my recipes I've created on my own. No one else has created these. I've created them on my own. But the content piece, when I'm putting it on and the voiceovers and the stories that I tell, those are all spontaneous. I do them on the spot. Like to this day, if I create something and I'm done filming, it's time to crack open the computer and I start writing. I start typing out it's almost like a movie script, and everything is spontaneous. Sometimes those are the best ways because it's authentic, it's raw. And that's what social media likes, authentic and raw. Nothing that seems scripted almost. So a lot of my content is right off the hip and it's authentic and raw. So spontaneous is, for me, the best way to engage an audience on social media.
So one more quick question that I have. I love to cook, and I've always wondered this, bro. In the world of cooking, right? You talk to these chefs and it's like there's certain things that's paired with certain things, right? Certain seasoning or whatever. Do you break that law sometimes where you're just like, I'm gonna throw this in? Like, is it taste? Do you go by, I think this might taste good, or, oh, I know this pairs good with this, let me throw this in here? Like, how do you come to these original recipes, bro? Like, and I'm not telling you to give the game, but I'm just asking from, like, if I look in my closet right now and I see some spices that I'm like, that might taste good. Are you willing to go that far?
Absolutely. You have it's everything is trial and error in cooking. If you're in the kitchen as much as I have been in my entire life, see my entire family's from Mississippi. So I have been in the kitchen watching my aunts, my mom, my dad, everyone, just use different things and try different techniques. And this kind of, I don't know if I'm jumping ahead here, but we grew up in the Seattle area where it's very diverse, a lot of ethnic backgrounds that we grew up around, man. And there's tons of different types of foods. I've been in so many households in my life from every ethnicity that you could probably think of, and just smelling the food and watching them just throw stuff in the pot and just try different things. You can't be scared. But I do tell young chefs and other food content creators, just start trying stuff on your own. You may not have to film it, but just try it. And if it works, then put it on wax. But yeah, I definitely try different seasonings out, different mixes. Sometimes I keep it, plain Jane, exactly the way it's supposed to be. But you're a creator, so we like to create. So trying different things is definitely in my forte.
What's up?
Yeah, man. So how do you that on-screen personality, and is it always natural for you?
So growing up, I was always like the, I don't know, class clown, as you would say. Kind of always wanted to be in spotlight. Being an athlete, always played in front of a lot of people. Being around a lot of professional athletes, all these different personalities. I think it's in me, not on me. So I started to do, right before I left Atlanta in 2018, 2019, I moved to the DMV from Atlanta, but I moved back to Atlanta. Before I moved to the DMV, here in Atlanta, I started to do live screenplays. And it's different from, being on set. with cameras, because when you're doing live screenplays, everything is like Saturday Night Live. It's right. You have to remember your lines. You can't mess up. So I dabbled in acting for a while, and then I moved, and then I became this content creator. But I think that by doing that, I wanted to do something on screen, but I just didn't know what it was. So that's why I dabbled into acting. And then it came to a halt. But then I kind of chased that presence of wanting to be on camera. And so I think that played a part in it as well, saying that I can do this. When COVID happened and everyone, I lost a few friends to COVID, and I just told myself, tomorrow is not promised. We only have today. And, you can't be scared. I'm a grown man. And so I just started to record myself more and more and more and more, and got comfortable with the voiceovers. And it just happened. Practice makes perfect. So the more you're in front of a camera, you just get more reps, the better you're going to get at it. So, and TikTok came and everyone's now on camera. Like, I don't know, man. There's a lot of people that are afraid to jump on camera on social media. And that is one of the things that's one of the things I think holds a lot of people back from creating their brand online, is they don't want to be on camera. And I'm telling you, you're going to have to show your face because people want to see who you are. So it came a time I didn't really want to. I left a 6-figure job to start doing this content because I knew it was going to be greater than anything in the world, and it's actually paid off. So I didn't want to go into an office every day. I think that played a part in it too. Like I want to do this. I got to do this. I have no choice. Creating that chip on my shoulder, that invisible chip that wasn't there, saying, I don't want to do this job anymore. Something's going to happen. COVID's here. I have no choice. I have to do it. So I started to jump on camera, man. And it's worked out. So,
well, you answered my question, but if anything, I just want to give you your flowers, because as I go through your content, and I'm sure everybody feels the same way, what really kind of sucks me in is the narration of it, right? Like, the food is one thing, but how you're breaking stuff down and you're putting your little twist on it, man. I think that's really dope.
thank you, man. Watching other creators starting out on this journey, taking bits and pieces of what I see with other creators and making it into my own, like the food sliding off the camera with the bench scraper. One of my favorite food content creators is Owen Hahn, Salt Hank, the Notorious Foodie. Those guys right there, I started watching really early and started taking bits and pieces of what they do and made it into my own. And now, I've managed to amass a great following, and it's a full-time job now.
That's dope, man. Big congrats, bro. Big congrats.
Congrats. So like doing that, like for us, we deal with haters, we deal with the pressure of just putting out content and burnout too. How do you deal with all that?
The burnout. Man, you just got to take a break. When your body starts to shut down and mentally you need a break, just take a break. However, there are times where you have to push through, you know, this adversity with being tired and overworked. You got to push through, because those are the times that are going to make or break you right there. Because once you start getting lazy and say, hey, I'm just going to start taking breaks, often your content will not show often. So we're dealing with an algorithm. And so you got to stay consistent, man. But I've had a few times where I've just mentally just drained. And so, yeah, you take a day off from content. Everyone does. But if you want it, you got to create, man. That's the way that I see it. But, mentally, we all go through that, man. But I just don't take too long of a break. Like, you can't, because content is king. As you see right now on all these social media platforms, content is not stopping. These top dogs, they're not stopping putting out content. They're putting out a lot of content. So can't take too long of a break, man. But mentally, step away for a day. Take a break, maybe 2 days, enjoy it, but content is king.
So looking back, Boyd, what are, if any, are there any mistakes that you made that others could learn from? And what would you do differently if you could go back?
Waiting for perfection instead of posting consistently starting out. Spending too much time trying to make every piece of content perfect before sharing it starting out. Learn as you go. Consistency builds trust, and your content will naturally start to improve with time. Another thing is not engaging with my audience. At the beginning, I did not, I didn't know anything about engagement. All the comments were coming on. Sometimes I would go on and put a nasty reply. I can't do that now, but I would start to engage, but it would be engagement in the wrong way. And you want to engage your audience in a nice way. Trending social media like a one-way broadcast instead of a conversation is the mistake. Can't have these one-way conversations with people and go back and forth with all this arguing that I see. What to do instead, reply to comments, and try to build your community. Your community is your audience, man. And over time, you're going to start to build a bigger audience, and they'll gain a lot more respect from you. Beginning, it was rough because I got a lot of nasty, rude comments. Those comments are never going to go away, but it seemed like they were more of them when I started out because my following wasn't as big. But then I gained a lot of respect, over these years, man. So engage your audience in the right way, not the wrong way. What I didn't do at the beginning also, I think, was not learning basic video or storytelling structure. Posting just random clips without a clear hook or story is what I was doing at the beginning. And if I had to do it all over again, I would learn how to grab that attention early, and deliver, some value or entertainment like towards the middle and strong. It doesn't have to be, complex, just intentional. So storytelling and having a structure in the videos is very, very, very important. And I didn't do that at the beginning, but I learned how to do that. And that's just by reps and watching others. So that came with time, but eventually I mastered that.
What they say is the first 3 seconds is the most important. What's the numbers on that?
See, they say 3, there's a lot of metrics out there about that, but they say 3, but I'm saying the first second, like 1 or 2 seconds, man, and they're swiping up if it's not engaging. I do it as well. If it's not engaging, if there's a pause at the beginning of the video, unless there's something on the screen that is, flashing at me and it makes me want to stay, that first second, you've got to engage your audience. That first 1 or 2 seconds, man. 3 seconds is almost too long.
That's great. What would you tell up and coming chefs, creators, if they're trying to grow their audience? What's some of the core things you would tell them?
Show up consistently. You don't have to post every day, but you do have to show up regularly. I think that once you get a post that is doing some numbers, you have to keep that momentum because you may never get that back. And it's happened to me. Especially starting out small. Now, all my videos don't, amass over 1 million, but I treat my videos like they're going over 1 million. I hit well over 1 million, probably 1 out of every, maybe 4. I don't know what it is now. You have your ups and downs with the algorithm. Capitalize on the momentum. If you have a viral video or something that's potentially doing, some pretty good numbers, double down on that. And do it again and do it again and do it again until it doesn't work anymore. Capitalize on the momentum for sure.
All right, check this out, Boyd. Let's imagine something, all right, and see where you go with this. I think that with the formula that you have built, it can relate to anything. I think that you've established this before even your success with this, just based on how you grew up, what molded you, all that other stuff. But this is just the icing on the cake. Like, oh man, I could take this and do it with whatever. Let's say Boyd turns into a football trainer tomorrow morning, 0 followers. You throw yourself up on the IG. What's your very first move, brother?
Ooh.
Knowing what you know now.
Post and engage like crazy and putting out in batches, starting with 0 followers, 5 to 10 strong pieces of content as much as I could. I would work on what I knew best and double down on that. Trying new things will come later, but if you know how to do something, double down on that. But post and engage like crazy, man, right at the beginning. I have a barber, Sly Honcho, that has grown. I think he's got over probably 10 million followers. He's a barber, but
you have to do that. Goes Spice Ball. Hit him with
that.
Yeah.
I like him, man. I like him.
Yeah, that's my guy, man.
Yeah,
he's my barber, and we always have conversations about social media. We bounce ideas off one another. I think he started like 3 pages and got him over 1 million. But he says that he can start from 0 today and get it to 1 million just like that. He's known for actually getting his page to 1 million followers in I think 69 days.
That's crazy.
Which is completely unheard of. But he was putting content out at the beginning, like he was post today, like from his Facebook. He posts probably 10 to 15 pieces of content a day.
A day? Dang.
Yeah, bro. He's
going hard.
He's on a different, but you don't have to do that. You have to post consistently, but he's in a niche where he's in a league of his own. He created a lane of his own, and people like that. So, but starting out, I would, in my niche, I would post heavy right at the beginning until I got a consistent rhythm down of exactly what I wanted to do and start to engage your audience in a positive way. But yeah, those are some of the hacks that I would do starting up with 0 followers to
That's what's
today.
up.
Yeah, man, that's dope, boy. Yeah, this show, is, we talk about like a lot about sports and stuff, and hey, we want to ask you some sports questions, stuff like that. The first question is that, I want to ask this because this is my thing, the Dion effect, right? And you see him, what he and his sons built online. Do you think that student athletes should build a brand online during school, before college, with the NIL thing?
So let me tell you like this. I wish we had social media back in the day, man.
Shoot, what?
My youngest son got invited to he was one of the best players in the state of Texas in the 8th grade. So he was at this was like a couple months ago. I flew down to Dallas and they had a game in Dallas Cowboy Stadium. And, I went to the practices and talked to the coaches. And, coach told me, he pulled me aside and he was like, you have to start getting your son a social media page that shows, his character, his abilities, show him in the weight room, clips, real resume, because coaches look at this as almost as part of your resume going into college. I'm not saying every coach does, but we live in a world now where social media plays a key role in maybe even getting you a scholarship, man, if you do it right. But having that social media page as an athlete helps tremendously, because if you go online, a lot of athletes do have social media pages. You just can't post anything crazy, but he told me your son needs to absolutely have a social media page starting going into high school. So we're getting that set up. And I think that is key, that he's going to have 4 years worth of, he's already got some, but having a social media page it doesn't hurt. So I don't know what it, what it can't do. I know what it can do. And so I think definitely going into high school, having a social media page plays a huge factor. That's my opinion of it.
Yeah, that's true. So also, man, we have a segment on here. It's top 5. For
Yes.
you play football. I know you played tight end, so you could attest to these type of guys. Who is your top 5 greatest defensive linemen? Pass rushers, all that stuff.
Top 5. My favorite top 5?
Yeah,
Woo, man. Off the top is LT.
LT for sure.
LT, Cortez, Kennedy,
Cortez,
R.I.P.
Aaron Donald,
AD.
Beast.
Bruce Smith.
Ooh.
The Bills.
Yeah. I'd have to say probably Reggie White.
I was just thinking, I was like, man, don't forget about my boy Reggie for the Eagles and the Packers.
Yeah, man, Reggie. But but then there's so many that are out there, because my dad, he played against guys like Jack Youngblood and Deacon Jones and Mean Joe Green. Those guys are probably all top 20. Then you got your Strahans, your Peppers, Sapp, John Randall, JJ Watt. There's so many that you can think of.
Bosa.
But those 5 right there, LT, Aaron Donald, Reggie White, Bruce Smith.
Yeah, that's a cold list right there.
That is called, man. Okay, let me ask you this. Where's your allegiance lie? I know your dad played for Denver, but you said he also so talk to me, Goose. You a Seahawk fan or you a Denver fan before we go into this next question? Because I might not even ask you if you give me the wrong answer, bro.
I'm from the towns.
Say that.
I'm a Hawk fan. Everyone knows that. But I root for Denver to the blood. I'm the only guy. I'm the only dude that has the ability to root for 2 teams. So
how was it when Russ went over there to Denver?
I liked it, but I knew it wasn't going to work out.
Yeah.
I just knew it was coming. It was once Russ got traded from Seattle and I started hearing these rumors, man, about how he was in the locker room. I don't know how true that is, but I heard Marshawn talk about it, about he couldn't call him directly, which is your star running back should be able to contact your quarterback directly through phone. And you had to go through someone else to talk to someone else to get a hold of Russ. So I was like, man, this is going to be a problem. And so, yeah, I knew it wasn't going to last in Denver almost from day one. And I actually said that as soon as he got traded, I was like, this is never going to work out. Okay.
So with that said, looking at the makeup of our draft, the pieces that we already got, how do you think our Hawks are going to do this year? And how do you think Sam Darnold's going to do? Or do you think that boy that we just drafted is the future
Milroy from Alabama?
Yes, sir.
No, Sam Darnold's going to be the starter. Milroy is not going to be the starter. I mean, I think they paid Sam Darnold, what's his contract? I don't know off the top of my head, but yeah, there's no way that Milroy's starting over Sam Darnold unless he gets hurt.
No, for sure. But the future, what does the future look like? You think
Sam
that
Darnold is still young. He's still young.
he
I mean,
is?
yeah, he's got another 10 years of play. So
Yeah.
like who knows? But these Seahawk quarterbacks, man, besides Russ and I've been a fan for the Hawks since like the Dave Craig days, of course. So I've seen the Hawks go from Dave Craig to, Dan McGuire to all these other dudes,
Warren
man.
Moon.
Dang, Dan McGuire.
Yeah, bro. Mark McGuire.
Dang,
Yeah.
forgot about Dan McGuire.
Yeah. So I don't know. Sam Darnold is going to come in. He moves well in the pocket, man, and he's able to evade some pressure. He's a pretty athletic guy. He's got a pretty good release, sometimes good anticipation, but he can struggle with reading coverages, man. He takes some unnecessary risks with his throws, and playing in that division, the DBs are hungry, bro. So
what you think? 11, 12 wins?
has the schedule been released yet?
That's a good question.
Yeah, I think so.
One of you guys read out the schedule.
Kmac, pull that up.
See if the schedule's been released, and I can tell you how many wins that they're going to have.
The schedule. Let me see. Seahawks schedule.
Man, our D is looking kind of cold, boy. Do you think that we did enough on the O-line?
Didn't we draft a tackle, if I'm not mistaken?
And later rounds.
I think we did.
Actually, we got a couple undrafteds that we picked up.
Yeah, I mean, the O-line in Seattle has always, I know those Sean Alexander days, that was one of the best O-lines that, has probably ever existed because all he had was huge holes to run through. But having an O-line in the NFL it means everything. That's where it starts at, bro. It's those big guys up front.
Okay.
All right, so
This is before you go into that, Kmac, this is an argument that me and Kmac had. Well, we're kind of on the same page. K9 or Charbonnet? Who do you like better at the one?
K9.
You say K9?
Yeah.
I mean, he's good, but he runs hard, but he runs a little bit out of the hole sometimes. He'll go to the side.
He's running backwards, bro.
Yeah, backwards sometimes. But Charbonnet, man, he runs hard.
He runs hard.
He runs hard.
He's not flashy. He's not going to give you that shoot, but it's just like he's doing his job, man.
Yeah, I've seen flashes of both, man.
So our home schedule, obviously NFC West, but we got Texans, Colts,
Hold on.
Saints.
Yeah, hold on. Slow down.
Slow down. Where are the Hawks playing at home or
Home schedule? Home schedule is Texans, the Colts, Saints, the Bucks, and the Vikings, and the NFC West.
That's a split. You name 6. There's 3 and 3. I see 3.
What about that Bucks though?
They're gonna lose against the Bucks. The Bucks are good.
Yeah, the Bucks are tough, man.
Yeah, the Bucks are tough, man.
Aways are obviously the NFC West, but then you got Atlanta, man. You about to go to that game for sure. I already know.
Yeah, I went last year. I don't know how they're playing back-to-back years in Atlanta. I've never seen that happen.
Yeah, that's a trip.
Because I went last year because we had a ball this past season when the Hawks came here, but they're coming again. Yeah, that's what's up.
Yeah, then we got Commanders, Titans,
Loss.
the Panthers, Jaguars,
Game.
and the Steelers.
Man, we're looking like another 10-win season.
I'm seeing 9 wins out of that. It's who we got in the division: Frisco, the Rams, bro, and Zona. It's going to be another one of those seasons where the Seahawks are going to be fighting for a wild card again. Like I don't see them dominating that. Like our division, like I don't. It's gonna be tough, bro. It's gonna be tough because the Seahawks are technically in a semi-rebuilding year. I don't know, man. Just the receiving core. I don't know. I just see them fighting and hopefully getting into a wild card spot, man. But it's the same thing with the Seahawks every single year. So we'll see, man. I only see 9 wins, and mark that up. 9 wins. I said it right now.
Yeah, we're coming back to this one at the end of the season.
9 wins for Boyd for Hawks. Okay, so our final question, man. This is it, man. And this is always a debate. Hey, man, who you got, man? You got MJ, you got Kobe, or do you got a LeBron? I mean, like,
get him out of here.
Everybody else wanted there, man. You could throw Curry. I mean, like, you could throw Magic, you could throw Kareem. Well, but who do you got?
Out of all those guys, man, come on, bro. My God, bro. I'm a MJ and Kobe guy, man. But if I'm choosing one, it's going to be Mike, of course. Out of everyone, I'm just a Mike guy. And we can have a debate between Kobe and LeBron, but leave MJ at the highest pedestal that.
Exactly. That's what I'm talking about.
I'm telling you, man. I'm glad we all agree on that.
Yeah, I mean, and some of these youngsters say that they've never seen Mike play, or you know what I'm saying, man. Listen, Mike athletically was capable. Just his body structure and the way he was, 6'6". He was no body fat on this dude, wide shoulders, long arms, perfect jump shot. It's just like his body was so aerodynamic. And so he was so athletically gifted, man. It was unbelievable watching that dude. It's unbelievable watching LeBron, what he's doing. He's 6'8". He's a monster, especially coming downhill. But Mike was just too gifted, man, and too gifted of a scorer. His mentality towards the game, I've never seen. But Kobe was the closest that I've seen as far as the step on your throat at the end of a game. Yeah.
I got one more question. This is spontaneous. While we're talking about spontaneous, you got one song, man, to get you ready for whatever that is. What's that song, boy?
One song to get me through. You just say a game?
Nah, let's call it. You got one song left to listen to. What is that song?
Oh my gosh.
Are you going more of like stuff that talks about your memories, walking you through the past? Are you is it The Last Call? Is it hyphy?
I would say something from Outkast.
There it is.
Yeah, it's definitely
There it is.
something from Outkast. I was gonna say Pac, but he's got too many songs. But I love Outkast, so
that's what's up. Man, boy, we really appreciate you coming out here, man. We know you're a busy cat, man, but we got none but respect for you, bro. Salute to all your winnings, man. Flowers to you, bro. We're gonna give everybody a quick sec to get your pens and pads out, because if you go back, it's been nothing but free gaming here. So we're gonna turn this over to Boyd. Boyd, where can they find you? Throw out your socials, all that good stuff, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me. Instagram is at Boyd Brown 3, the number 3. So that's BOYDBROWN, the number 3 for Instagram. TikTok is at Chef_Boyd Brown the third, spelled out. Chef_Boyd Brown, THE, the number 3 RD. Chef_Boyd Brown the third. YouTube, Chef Boyd Brown the third. Facebook business, Chef Boyd Brown the third. Website is www.chefboydbrown the third.
And you're for hire. If anybody wants to hire you for any events or anything like that, where can they reach out to you?
I put the events on hold for now because of the
doing it.
The
Boyd's doing it.
I have, yeah.
I ain't got time
I'm
for all that.
super busy right now. However, if it's something that I'm expensive, I'm not cheap.
Yeah, for sure. What about celebrity pop-up events?
Gotta make sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I may have a few coming up. I know I'm going to keep it on a roster. These are kind of A-listers that, reached out to me that want me to do something. So if it happens, it happens. You guys will know about it.
Yeah, for sure.
Thanks, Boyd. Appreciate
man.
it, man.
Thanks, bro.
This was dope, man.
Not a problem. Thanks for having me. And, guys, stay patient and keep dropping content. Show your face and talk. Those are a couple key things that you guys should keep doing with the show. But congrats again, guys. Thanks for having me, and we'll chat again.
Appreciate you, brother. Y'all be easy.
You too.